Hello and welcome to the Garian Tabletop. I am Garian Reaver and this is a Far Waste devlog. In the last one and the next few devlogs, I'm going through various player genera and species, basically player races. If you haven't seen it, check out the devlog about the basics of player options, linked at the end and in the description. As always, any content in this is subject to change as the game grows and I get feedback. If you have any thoughts, don't hesitate to put them in the comments or come join us on the Garian Reaver Discord, linked in the description. After talking about humans last time, today let's talk about mutants. First off, mutants are not just humans, you can get mutants of almost any genera or species. Obviously ones like robots that can't mutate can't be mutants, but aside from that it's up to you. Some fluff. A lamentable but inevitable byproduct of the radiation-filled apocalypse, mutations took root immediately. Some of the unfortunate survivors of the bombs befell an even more unfortunate fate, physically changing before the eyes of their terrified peers. For some, the change was more insidious, infecting DNA and unborn children, resulting in abnormalities in future generations. As soon as the world became post-apocalyptic, the mutants came into existence. As widespread as the effects were, mutants never suffered the rejection that one might expect, certainly not the disdain and distrust levelled at Falborn and Fishkind species. While not truly accepted as human, especially by purists and groups like the Vanguard Militia, human-like mutants are generally permitted to live in otherwise exclusively human settlements. The numbers, however, are never great. Approximately 1 in 3 mutants are sterile, so they remain a fairly fringe minority in the communities. Mutation as a condition is not limited to humanity. In the couple of centuries since their flash evolution, mutated offshoots have been observed among almost every Falborn and Fishkind genus. The attitude each individual species takes to mutants of their own varies greatly, some reviled as standard, some lauded as the advancement of their kind. The world is a dangerous place in which to live. Sometimes night vision or an extra arm can really help. As with humans, each genus has a starting boost to 1 or more stats, which I talked about in that other devlog. Mutants get a +2 and a +1 to different stats, one of which must be resistance. Once mutated, they are a resistant lot. Before we get on to their genus trait, mutants have a special addition. You have to choose from what you're mutated. Select another genus and species that is not immune to mutation. Your appearance is based on that species, but you gain none of their features. Your mutated physiology overrides it. You are also visually distinct enough that people of that genus recognize you to be a mutant. Only people of your genus. Most humans wouldn't be able to tell a mutated kraken from a non-mutated one. Mutants actually have 2 genus traits, once changed and your lifeblood. Your body has undergone horrific, deforming alterations that have fundamentally changed your cells, inside and out. For whatever else may come of these changes, they seem themselves resistant to unwelcome tampering. You have the glow on all body checks. As I've mentioned in previous devlogs, the glow and the grey are when you roll 2 dice and pick the highest or the lowest respectively. MBS, or Mind, Body and Soul checks, are rolls you make to protect against harmful effects. Getting the glow on all body checks makes you more likely to resist things like disease, poison, force mutation. It helps. Once a mutant, always a mutant, goes the cautionary idiom. While that may be true, such an alternative lifestyle does carry its own share of rewards. In particular, your body is slightly less prone to debilitating outcomes when mutating further. You get +1 on all rolls on the mutation table, and start with 2 mutation slots. I said in the player options devlog that mutation is a way to improve your character's stats and abilities. I also said it's a little random. When you mutate, you roll on the mutation table to determine what effects you get. I haven't written this table yet, but there will be some negative things at the bottom end of it. Adding to your roll can only help you. To learn more about mutation and mutation slots, check out the player options devlog, linked at the end and in the description. Mutants have 2 species. Whether you're mutated from a human or a kraken or something else, you will come in one of 2 forms, overt and repressed. Essentially, this determines if your mutation is obvious or hidden. Overt first, as that's what most people picture. By far the most common kind of mutant seen, if only because they're easy to spot. An overt mutant is one that goes through life with their nature plain to see, dealing with any prejudices or fears associated with what they are. These days, most mutants are born to mutant parents, whether their parents knew they were mutated or not, and more often than not exist within a society that has grown to tolerate, if not accept, them. The form an overt mutant's physical manifestation can take is greatly varied. Perhaps an unusual eye colour, hair colour, or skin tone. Perhaps an unsightly throbbing bulge on the side of their neck, who can say? Like all matters of genetics, born mutants usually share physical traits with their parents, but when radiation is a factor, this is by no means guaranteed. If the particular mutant is the start of a new line, willingly transformed or not, then there's no telling what form they'll take. The overt species trait is already begun. You are different, changed, mutated. Perhaps you were born this way, perhaps this change was forced upon you sometime in your life. Whatever the circumstances, you are unlike those around you, and this is already manifested physically. You start with 2 extra mutation slots, in addition to the ones you get from your lifeblood for a total of 4 extra, and you must immediately make 2 rolls on the mutation table. I also want most species to gain extra things as they level up, so at level 7 you gain 2 additional mutation slots, and again immediately make 2 rolls on the mutation table. As they start with 2 mutations right from the off, there is an inherent random element to the overt mutant. Genetics are a lottery, and mutants are playing that with pocket aces, whatever that means. It's a good idea to base your physical appearance on the mutations you roll, only adding extra limbs and the like when you actually gain them. That keeps it logical, balanced, and allows you to physically change as you continue to gain mutations. Now the repressed mutant. It's said that many mutants exist in complete secrecy, passing through settlements and hidden among communities without ever being discovered. That's totally true. Not that big a deal either, frankly. Repressed mutants are those born, some would say luckily, without any outward sign of their nature. They might only barely be a mutant, just enough to cross the genus line. Or it's entirely possible that the corrupted DNA skipped them somehow. Whether a repressed mutant sees themselves as belonging equally in 2 worlds or belonging in neither, they are a connecting point between branching heritages. Some could even be unaware of their true nature, assuming they're the exact same as their normal-seeming parents, living their whole lives oblivious. What role the repressed mutant takes in society is entirely up to them, their options wider than they are to most people around them. At risk of memes, their species trait is Among Us. Whether you're only distantly related to a mutant, the beginning of a new divergent branch, or simply got lucky in the mutation lottery, you do not bear the physical traits of your kind. You're certainly not a pure specimen of your ancestral species, but you do carry some of their traits. Choose a single trait from the genus or species you selected from which to mutate. You have that trait as if you were of that species. People of your unmutated genus also do not recognize you to be a mutant, unless you gain a physical mutation that would make it obvious. A possible idea for a repressed mutant is to outwardly claim to the other players, but not to the GM obviously, that they are the species on which they're based. Whether you choose to do that or not, repressed offer a balance between the hardiness of a mutant and the unique abilities of another species. With the required boost to res and glow on body checks, mutants are very survivable. Their bodies have already been through a lot, and that's prepared them for tough times. Naturally tanky, mutants make great frontline fighters. That said, they can adapt to suit most any role. With far-waste mutants, I wanted to subvert a lot of the tropes. They're not the villains of the world, they don't live in the sewers, they're not monsters, they're people, just like everyone else. Well, obviously not just like everyone else, that's the point, but you know. I've said before, this isn't inherently a grim, gritty setting. I hope you'll agree that this reflects that. And that is about it for mutants. If you like the sound of anything I've talked about here, come and give us a hand. I'm working on this with the help of the people over on the Gary Reaver Discord, which is linked in the description. Come and share your thoughts or just drop in and show your support. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe for more far-waste devlogs, or for board games, card games, miniatures, and TTRPGs like this, and I will catch you later.